Okay, so let's unpack this one. Usually when we sit down to do a deep dive, we're looking at sociology or maybe some macroeconomics, right?
Right, just looking at general trends.
Yeah, looking at trends. But today we are looking at a stack of research that claims the modern world isn't just, unfair to men. It's not just about laws or taxes.
No, this is on a whole different level entirely.
The claim here is that the system is an actual biological weapon.
It is a very visceral argument. I mean, he doesn't hold back at all.
So the core thesis we are looking at is that the state of being fatherless, and I don't just mean growing up without a dad, but the systematic erasure of the father figure from the culture is literally aging men to death.
Right.
We are talking about telomere decay. We are talking about a system designed to dismantle you at the cellular level.
Yeah, it takes the concept of a social grievance and moves it right into the realm of a physiological crisis.
We are diving deep into a very provocative and honestly very dense new ebook. It's titled Fatherless Injustice, Destroying Children by Feminist Marxist Jurisprudence and Cultural Revolution Against Patriarchy.
Quite the title.
Yeah, it's by Conrad Riker, and it was just released in 2025. And before we get too far into the weeds, we should mention you can pick up this ebook right now on Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books.
Definitely go check it out on Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books if you want to follow along, because we need to frame this correctly for everyone listening right now.
Yeah.
This is not a book that is trying to be polite. It is a text specifically written for men's rights activists and the manosphere.
It's for guys who have taken the red pill.
Exactly. It's tailored for men who have realized that the institutions like law and education and medicine have been captured by an ideology that is, according to the author, hostile to their very existence.
Yeah, if you are a guy who looks around and feels like the deck isn't just stacked against you, but that the casino is actually trying to kill you, well, Riker is handing you the blueprints to the building.
He's looking at the history of these institutions before they were captured by feminists and Marxists, or as he puts it, infected.
It's an intense read. It's incredibly detailed and angry.
Extremely detailed.
But before we jump into the biological warfare aspect, and believe me, we are going to go really deep on that, I want to ask you, the listener, to do something for us.
Hit the button.
Yeah. If you want us to keep digging into these kinds of unfiltered, ultra-long, and incisive topics that you just won't hear on the mainstream networks, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button right now.
It helps us keep the lights on.
And it tells the algorithm that you want the truth, however raw it is.
So let's start with the biology, because that is the hook that really separates this book from just a standard political rant.
Right.
Riker isn't starting with feelings, he's starting with your DNA.
The telomere crisis.
Yes. So Riker spends the opening chapters arguing that the stress men are under in the modern West isn't just stress in the way we usually think about it.
It's not like I had a hard day at work.
No, exactly. He cites the work of Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who actually won a Nobel Prize for her research on telomeres.
And for those of us who maybe skipped biology class to go smoke behind the gym, what exactly is a telomere?
Okay, so think of them like the little plastic aglets at the end of a shoelace.
Okay.
They protect your DNA strands from fraying. Every time your cells divide, those tips get a little bit shorter.
So it's a natural process.
It is natural.
Yeah.
But when they get too short, the cell can't divide anymore, so it dies or you get disease.
Yeah.
Essentially, your telomeres are the biological clock of aging.
And the book argues that modern society is basically taking a pair of scissors to these ropes.
Specifically, Riker argues that the family court system, the forced alienation of fathers from their children, and the chronic rumination of resentment, which he links to hostility, is accelerating this decay.
Wow.
He literally calls it a biological acceleration toward the grave.
That is a terrifying image. The idea that the courtroom isn't just taking your 401k, it's literally taking years off your lifespan.
It's the constant state of fight or flight, without the ability to actually fight or flee. He points to statistics showing that testosterone levels have plummeted by approximately 1% per year since the 1980s.
1% a year?
Yeah, and he frames this as a systemic castration. The argument is that a society that weaponizes empathy against men, forcing them to apologize for their nature while extracting their resources, creates a cortisol-rich environment that is highly toxic to male biology.
So you have this biological crisis, right? But a crisis needs a cause. And that leads us directly to what he frames as the villain of this story.
Gynocentric state.
Right. This is where we move from the biology into the political economy. Riker defines the modern state not as a neutral arbiter, but as a surrogate husband.
A surrogate husband.
Yeah, that sounds pretty expensive.
It is. Or he also uses the term parasite.
Yeah.
The book describes this economic algorithm. It claims the state extracts taxes from the productive class, which the book defines statistically as men, specifically men who are net lifetime taxpayers.
Oh.
And it transfers that wealth to the beneficiary class.
Which he identifies as women and dependents.
Exactly. He calls it a soft harem. The idea is that male labor is coerced under threat of imprisonment.
Because that is what taxes are, right? If you don't pay them, you go to jail.
Right. So it's coerced to subsidize choices and lifestyles that these men didn't agree to support. You are paying for children you aren't allowed to see. You are paying for a safety net that is expressly designed not to catch you.
It's like you're paying the mortgage and the bills for the family, but you've been kicked out of the house and you're sleeping in your car.
Precisely. And to maintain this extraction, because obviously no rational man would agree to this deal if he had a free choice, Riker argues the state had to capture the 3 pillars of civilization.
He calls them the horsemen of the modern apocalypse, right?
Yes.
Let me guess. Law, education, and medicine.
You got it. So let's take education. Riker leans heavily on the critique of the blank slate theory. He argues that schools have adopted this idea that boys and girls are biologically identical.
Right, so when boys act like boys, like high energy, rough and tumble competitive, the system treats it as a pathology.
Exactly. He talks a lot about the drugging of boys.
This is the war against boys stuff.
Yes, he references Christina Hoff Sommers' work directly. The argument is that we are medicating the male spirit out of existence because it doesn't fit into a classroom designed for female compliance.
They want boys to sit still, be quiet, and talk about their feelings.
And when a boy wants to compete or build something or destroy something, he gets a pill.
Man. And then there's the legal system. This part really stood out to me, the shift from harm to offense. This felt like the real philosophical core of the whole problem.
It is a crucial distinction. Historically, Western law was based on harm, objective injury.
Like, did I break your leg? Did I steal your cow? Did I burn down your barn?
Exactly. These are facts. You can prove them. But Riker argues we've shifted to a standard of offense which is entirely subjective.
Did I hurt your feelings? Did I make you feel unsafe?
And since feelings are subjective,
The goalposts can just move forever.
right, he compares the Believe All Women movement to the Salem witch trials.
That's a strong comparison.
He argues it's a total regression to pre-Enlightenment mob rule.
Hmm.
In Salem, if you felt like someone was a witch, that feeling was evidence.
And today, if you feel unsafe around a man, that feeling is treated as a fact that justifies punishment.
Exactly. So we have this biological war, a parasitic state, and a legal system that's rigged to prioritize feelings over facts.
And most people, when they hear this, they think, okay, this is bad. We need to vote. We need to protest. We need to call our congressman.
And that is exactly what Riker says you absolutely should not do.
Really, why not?
This is where we get into the praxa, the practical action.
Segment 2.
Right, the exit strategy.
Yeah.
Riker references the economist Albert Hirschman here. He argues there's a total failure of voice,
Meaning talking doesn't work?
meaning you cannot vote your way out of a system that relies on your labor to fund its own existence. If you are the host and the state is the parasite isn't going to vote to stop eating you.
That puts it pretty starkly.
The gynocentric state will never reform itself because it completely depends on your subjugation. He calls protesting the slave posture.
The slave posture.
Yeah, he says begging for a seat at the table is futile because the table was designed to dismantle you in the first place. Asking the people who hate you to treat you nicely is not a strategy, it's just surrender.
So if we don't beg for a seat, what do?
We build a new table, or as he calls it, the Manosphere Jerusalem. The core strategy here is secession.
Secession, like leaving the country, moving to a cabin in the woods.
Not necessarily physically, though he does mention that as an option for some. He really means building parallel institutions. And the first pillar of this new fortress is Bitcoin.
Of course, it always comes back to crypto in these circles. But how does he frame it? Is this just about getting rich?
No, he frames Bitcoin specifically as a digital fortress. He calls it a weapon of the patriarchy.
How so?
Think about the legal shift we just discussed between harm and offense. If you offend the wrong person today, the system can freeze your bank account. They can debank you entirely.
Right, we've seen that happen.
Bitcoin, because it is censorship resistant and seizure proof, denies the state the ability to turn off your life. It's about starving the beast.
Okay, so you secure the money so they can't touch it. What about work? I mean, if you work at a big Fortune 500 company, You are basically sitting in the belly of the beast.
Exactly. Which is why he pushes for sovereign work. This means exiting the corporate world entirely.
Because of human resources.
Yes. He argues that corporate HR departments have become the high priestesses of DEI. They are the primary enforcers of this offense culture.
Yeah, he was pretty brutal about HR in the book.
Very brutal. He suggests that men need to move toward independent contracting, the gig economy, and the trades, places where competence is king.
Because if you are fixing a plumbing leak or coding a smart contract as a freelancer, nobody cares about your political views.
They just want the job done. He wants men to move from status hierarchies, which are controlled by women and HR, to competence hierarchies.
And then there's the education piece. If the schools are indoctrination camps that drug boys, what do we do with our sons?
You pull them out immediately. He advocates for educational guilt.
Which means what?
Returning to the trivium. Grammar, logic, and rhetoric. He wants fathers to homeschool or form co-ops to, as he puts it, inoculate their sons against woke indoctrination.
You have to train them to think logically before the system trains them to think emotionally.
Precisely. So it's a complete withdrawal. Money work school.
But there's an internal component to this too, right? It's not just about what you do out in the world, it's about how you think.
Absolutely. This is the mental armor segment of the book. Riker argues that before you can build the citadel, you have to build an inner monastery.
He talks a lot about stoicism here.
Yes, but it's a weaponized stoicism. He says you must become indifferent to the screeching of the mob. He calls it karenning.
Karenning. Yeah, I think we all know what that sounds like.
He treats it as just background noise. But here's where it gets really interesting. He brings in Saul Alinsky.
Wait, the rules for radicals guy, isn't he usually a hero of the left?
Exactly. Riker says you should use the enemy's rulebook against them. Specifically, Alinsky's rule number 5. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon.
So don't argue with them, just laugh.
Laugh. Mockery. He says you cannot logic someone out of a position they didn't logic themselves into.
That makes sense.
If someone is screaming at you about microaggressions or privilege engaging them rationally as a trap, he suggests using humor as a flamethrower.
When the system demands you apologize or conform, you don't get angry. You just ridicule the absurdity of it.
It breaks their frame entirely.
And that connects back to that distinction between harm and offense, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Riker calls separating harm from offense the final red pill. He says men need to fundamentally refuse to accept offense as valid grounds for punishment.
If I haven't physically harmed you or your property, your feelings are your problem.
That is the stance of the sovereign.
But what if you get dragged into court? What if it's not just feelings anymore, but a full-blown lawsuit or a false accusation?
This is what he calls the silver bullet strategy. And he uses the Depp v. Heard trial as his main case study.
Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, that was a massive cultural moment.
Riker analyzes it tactically. He says Depp won not by appealing to emotion, but by demanding forensic evidence.
Data, medical records, text messages.
Riker's advice is, sunlight is the best disinfectant for feminist lies. Demand the data, ignore the narrative.
So document everything.
He advises men to basically become archivists of their own lives. Record everything, keep every single receipt.
Because in a he said, she said, the gynocentric state will always believe she said.
Unless he has 4K video and a forensic audit.
It's very pragmatic. It's almost like he's telling men to become lawyers and forensic accountants just for their own survival.
He effectively is. He's saying that in a world of subjective narrative, objective data is your only real shield.
Okay, I want to pivot to what I think is the most sci-fi and frankly the most controversial part of the book. Segment 4, the future.
The singularity.
Specifically the Roxy effect.
Yes. This chapter is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, but Riker leans all the way in. He predicts a sexual singularity.
He's talking about AI girlfriends and robots.
He is. He argues that as AI and robotics advance, the sexual market value of real women is going to completely crash.
That is a brutal economic assessment of human relationships.
It is. But he argues that modern relationships for men come with massive legal risks. Divorce courts, false accusations, total financial ruin.
So his claim is that AI companions offer men a way to bypass these gatekeepers entirely.
Exactly. Why risk losing your house and your kids when you can have a synthetic companion that is loyal, programmed to be agreeable, and literally cannot sue you?
He sees this as the return of kings.
It allows men to opt out of the dating market that he feels is completely rigged against them. He believes this will force a massive societal correction because men will no longer be desperate for female validation.
If you take away the thirst, You take away the power the system holds over men.
That's his argument.
It's a dark vision, but I can absolutely see why it resonates with his audience. If the risk is ruin and the alternative is a robot, the robot starts looking pretty good to a lot of guys.
And where does this all lead? What is the omega point?
Right, the omega point is his vision of a 1,000-year golden age, a male renaissance.
And what does that look like according to the book?
It's a society based on contribution-weighted voting.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning only net taxpayers vote. If you consume more in government services than you pay in taxes, you don't get a say in how the money is spent.
That would change absolutely everything. That flips no taxation without representation completely on its head.
No representation without taxation.
It would end the gynocentric state overnight, according to Riker. He envisions a transition from a feeling-based economy, which he associates with the current system, to a logic and code-based economy.
A world where the woke mob cannot function because the systems run on hard math, not social pressure.
You can't cancel a blockchain.
You can't guilt trip an algorithm.
It's a fascinating, if extremely polarizing worldview. It basically takes the feeling of alienation that many men have and turns it into a revolutionary manifesto.
It really does. It validates their pain by giving it a biological and historical context. Saying, hey, it's not you, it's the telomeres, it's the laws.
And then it offers a very specific, actionable path forward. It's not just, woe is me, it's here's exactly how we build the fortress.
So let's recap the journey here. We started with the biological rot, the idea that the lack of a father figure and the chronic stress of the court system is physically destroying men's DNA.
Then we looked at the horsemen, the captured institutions of law and education that enforce this paradigm.
We moved to the exit strategy, Bitcoin, the gig economy, withdrawing your consent from the system entirely.
And finally, the sovereign citadel. Using stoicism, ridicule, and even technology like AI to build a new reality where men are the architects again.
Riker really brings it all together in the final chapter. He has this challenge. Let me find the quote here. He says, "You are the architects of reality. Reject the lie. Embrace the burden of competence."
That's the core message right there. Stop begging for a seat and build your own table.
It's a call to action that I think is going to stick with a lot of listeners. This isn't just a book, it's a battle plan.
And if this analysis piqued your interest at all, you really need to see the full blueprint. We've only scratched the surface of the legal strategies, the historical data he cites, and the specific mechanics of the praxa.
Absolutely. The ebook, again, is called Fatherless Injustice, Destroying Children by Feminist Marxist Jurisprudence and Cultural Revolution Against Patriarchy.
Quite a mouthful, but you can grab it right now on Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books.
Yeah, if you are a man feeling the pressure of these institutions, Riker is arguing this is the manual you've been waiting for. Don't just take our word for it, read the source material for yourself.
And for the ongoing analysis, because the culture war moves fast and the laws are changing every single day, Riker is very active online.
Yes, you can follow him at Conrad Riker on Substack.
That's at Conrad Riker, all one word.
That's where he dives deeper into the praxa and the daily skirmishes. He's also on Twitter and YouTube.
Definitely worth a follow if you want to understand the Manosphere Jerusalem concept in real time.
And finally, a provocative thought to leave you with. Riker talks about the singularity of the sovereign. He asks a fundamental question. If the system needs you more than you need the system, what happens the day you simply decide to stop participating?
What happens when Atlas doesn't just shrug, but completely walks away?
That is the question you need to ask yourself. Something to mull over.
Truly.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, please smash that like button and subscribe. It really helps us get this crucial information out there.
Check out the book on Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books and follow the Substack.
We will see you all in the next one.
Stay sovereign.